everyone, it's LJ. Welcome to my show. Today I'll be showing you one of my favorite stitches, the chevron stitch, also known as the ripple stitch or the zigzag stitch. It's very easy, beginner friendly. We'll be using half double crochet stitch and chain stitch. There are different variations for this pattern. Some call for single crochet. Here's an example of that. Some call for double crochet. I personally like to use the half double crochet stitch. I think it just works the best in terms of its density and its flatness. The single crochet one kind of warps a little bit at first, and I think it's a little bit harder to do that way at first. So we're going to do the half double crochet. All we're doing is we're starting off with a chain, and we'll be decreasing to make these valleys and increasing to make these peaks. It's a one row repeat. It's very easy. Once you get it, you could make a whole scarf or a whole blanket depending on what you want to do. What you will need is a size 6 or size 5 crochet hook, a pair of scissors, one of these little yarn needles to thread in our ends at the end. If you don't have this, that's okay. To do this pattern, you just need your yarn, a hook, and a pair of scissors. Let's get started. To start our chevron stitch, begin with a slip knot. And we will chain a multiple of 13 plus 2. So for today, I'm going to do 28 stitches. That will give us this pattern here. So for every set of 13, it will create a V. We will do 2 V's in this tutorial. So begin with 28 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 28. We're going to skip the first chain and go into the second chain, starting with 2 half double crochets. Just to recap, the half double crochet is a yarn over. You can insert into the chain or your stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over again, pull through all 3. We're going to do 2 in that first stitch, so we'll do another one, yarn over, insert, yarn over, wrap, and through 3 stitches. We're going to be doing that stitch for this whole pattern. So now that we've done our first 2 in that first stitch, I'm going to do 5 half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to skip the next 2 chains. So that's 1, 2. We're going to do 5 more double crochet starting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is what we have so far. We just made our first valley. Now we will make our first peak by doing 3 into the next stitch. 1, 2, 3. We'll continue on with 5 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will skip the next 2, 1, 2, and move into the third one with 5 more half double crochets. and 5. We will end our row with 2 half double crochets into that last chain. 1, 2. We'll chain 1 and turn our work. We'll look at our first row. You can see our chevron pattern emerging. It's a 1 row repeat, so to start the second row, we're going to do the same as the first, and so on. For every row will be exactly the same, beginning with 2 half double crochets into that first stitch. The reason we do 2 in that first stitch is because if you look at our chevron, we're pretty much doing half of a peak. So where we're doing 3 in 1 here, we're just doing 2 in 1 here, because it'd be as if we were starting another chevron there, except it's the end, so we just do 2 in the end, and then continue on with 5 half double crochets. Three, 4, 5, skip 1 and 2, do 5 more half double crochets starting in the third stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll do 3 half double crochets into that top of our peak stitch. Should be your 6th stitch after you did 5. Do 1, 2, 3. That creates our peak, and then we continue down with 5 more half double crochet. Skip the next 2, 5 more half double crochet, and 2 half double crochet in our very last stitch. And there's our second round. I'm going to show you how to switch colors real quick. I'm going to cut your yarn and pull that end through. Pick out your second color of yarn. I'm going to use orange. Don't forget to turn your work before you start. So you start right where you would have ended off. Begin with another slip knot. I start with a slip stitch into that first stitch. Slip stitch again is just directly back through that loop. And now we will begin our pattern with 2 half double crochet into that first stitch. The same one we did a slip stitch in. So you did your slip stitch, your 2 half double crochet, and you will continue on with this pattern with the 5 half double crochet, skip 2 to make the valley, 5 half double crochet, 3 and 1 to make the peak, 5 half double crochet, skip 2, 5 half double crochet, and end with 2. We're going to do a couple more rows for the sample, and I'll meet you after a few more. Now I'm going to add some pink. If you guys been switching colors, you're gonna have a bunch of loose ends here whenever you're done. I'll show you how I tie those loose ends off. I use a yarn needle, and what we're gonna do is where we have two ends here, I'm gonna weave them into our pattern and tie them together. So thread your needle, just go through some of these stitches, maybe like 3 or 4. Pull this through. Pull it out a little bit. Do the same thing with the other color. Thread. Go through about the same amount of stitches as you did with the pink or the other color. Pull through. And now we're going to tie our ends together. The reason you weave it in a little bit first is just in case this knot comes undone, your pattern isn't going to start tearing immediately. Well, first of all, this knot shouldn't come undone because we're going to triple knot it and it will be fine. But if it were to come undone, it's not going to start unraveling because it's also weaved in there. Now you can trim. And if you have an end that just has one, we're going to do almost the same thing. Thread your needle. Sometimes the yarn wants to split, but you can always trim it a little bit so the end is a little easier to thread. Sew this or weave it down a couple stitches. That way our knot is hidden in our pattern versus hanging off the end here. And it's more secure because it's weaved in. Now what you can do is trim again a little bit shorter. We're going to split the yarn like so. Untwist it a little bit. Okay, so now you have two ends and we're going to tie them together just as if you had two different pieces. I'm actually going to take my hook and I'm just going to bring one of these ends just around another stitch there. That way so they're tied around a stitch. And you can just tie them like you did before. Triple knot to be safe. Ta-da! And there you have the chevron stitch. There are other ways, there are many ways to do this stitch. I've just showed you the way I like to do it. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date on all my latest projects, patterns, and tutorials. Thanks for watching.